I think the problem with bad bosses is that they're narrow-minded. They're not inclusive in their thinking. And I'm not necessarily talking about gender or race, but just even in the diversity of thought. We live in a meritocracy, and the problem with the meritocracy is, bosses are inherently against risk. They don't want to take risk, right? Businesses are constantly trying to find ways to take the human out of human resources. I want a way to be able to evaluate people and to know for sure that they're going to perform and that there's never going to be a problem and that they're going to help me, achieve my goals. And I think people are more complex than that. And one of the problems with the meritocracy, because I'm not suggesting at all that we lower our standards of excellence, but I think the problem with the meritocracy is, especially in a country like ours, is there's this standard formula. You go to school, you go to this college, you get this kind of training, and everybody comes out thinking a certain way. And bad bosses are ones that thinking is so limited that they can't see another way. Because if the person comes from a different background or have a different way of educating themselves, then they may not communicate in the same way. And a bad boss, and the bad bosses I have, one of my least favorite sayings in the world was, "That doesn't make sense." I hate it when executives say, "That doesn't make sense," because first of all, it's not true. And that statement is incomplete. The statement should be, "That doesn't make sense to me because of my inherently limited view of the world, my inherently limited experience." And I'm not saying they're not experienced, I'm saying, but you're always limited to you, right? You are the sum of you. And so it's the denial that there's another way. And our world is full of examples of like Richard Branson and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, all these disruptors, right, who threw out the rule book and did amazing, incredible things. And there are lots of people out there who are capable of amazing, incredible things. But those bad bosses are too afraid to take the risk. They're too narrow-minded in their thinking. And they actually believe that it's sort of arrogant. There's an absence of humility that there could be a way that's better that I didn't think of or that I don't understand. And the best bosses I've had, let's stop talking about the bad bosses, talk about the good bosses. The best bosses I've had are those ones who were able to look past my background, look past the color of my skin, look back past the fact that I went to a lousy school, quote unquote, and I don't have a master's degree, but were able to give me an opportunity. And when they heard something that didn't make sense, they pushed forward and said, "Tell me more, tell me more." And I'm still friends with those three bosses over last 30 or 40 years. I'm sorry to show my age, because we won together. We had tremendous success together and we had a ball doing it. And we liked each other professionally and personally because of that. And I think those good bosses are people who are willing to listen, who are willing to realize that they don't have all the answers, and are willing to make space for creativity and resourcefulness. Because when you think about Richard Branson and folks like that, that's what they brought to the table. When you think about Airbnb and Uber, disrupting entire industries because they were willing to do things differently. And those industry experts, if you think about it, the taxi companies and the hotels, right, they should have thought this a long time ago and they should have owned the market. They were the experts. But that's the problem. They were arrogant. They thought they were the experts and they didn't make room for diversity of thought. And that's really what this is about. It's not just about gender and color, which we talk a lot about in business. But it really comes down to gender and color equal different experiences. Different experiences equal different ways of thinking. And we like to call that innovation. But in most times in business, when they say innovation, they don't mean innovation. What they really mean is if me and my colleagues who all went to the top universities and got trained in the same way, if we hear something that makes sense to us, then we'll buy off on it. And I think so much opportunity has been missed. Who wouldn't want to raise their hand and say, "I wish I had been with the group that came up with Apple or Google or Uber or whatever back in the day." But the truth is there's a very limited number of good managers who are willing to listen to something that maybe to them at the beginning doesn't make sense.